Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're unpacking a truly inspiring story. It's a tale of courage, learning, and finding your voice. Even when that little knot of fear tries to whisper you into silence, we've all felt it, right? That apprehension when trying something new, especially something as, well, vulnerable as speaking a new language in front of others. So our mission today is to explore key excerpts from a story called The English Club Surprise: Courage, Mistakes, and Big Lessons. We're going to dive into how this group of students, initially pretty hesitant, transformed their fear of speaking English into this really powerful, inspiring display of confidence and heart. We want to uncover the unique alchemy, the specific ingredients that allowed them to make learning not just effective, but genuinely fun, fearless, and deeply resonant.
Yeah, and what's particularly insightful here is how this story builds on things we've touched on before. We've already seen Sami courageously tackle his initial fear of English, right? And that journey was sparked by Lina's support. And then Lina's own confidence sort of blossomed as she realized the impact she could have helping others. So that collaboration led to them forming this small English club, a quiet space, really, where those initial seeds of courage and mutual support truly began to take root.
And what a blossoming it was. Seriously, every Wednesday afternoon, room 6B would just be buzzing with the English club. It started incredibly small, like just 4 students, almost like a secret society of language learners. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Within just a few short weeks, that number swelled to more than 15. The room wasn't just full of people, it was alive. The sound of English games, these hilarious joke-telling contests, and dedicated speech practice, you can almost picture the energy.
And that growth wasn't just random, it wasn't mere chance. It was a direct result of the ingenious environment they cultivated. This club wasn't just about practicing English verbs and nouns. It was meticulously designed to dismantle the very fear that often paralyzes language learners. Their wrong sentence of the day activity is a perfect example. Students would purposely craft grammatically incorrect sentences.
Seriously, on purpose.
Yes, and then they'd all laugh at them together and learn from the humor. This wasn't just some abstract idea of psychological safety. They basically weaponized humor against that deep fear of looking foolish. By intentional making mistakes, they completely flipped the script. Potential embarrassment became this shared, celebrated act of learning.
Wow. I find that approach absolutely brilliant. Sami, one of the club members, he really nailed its essence. He said, this club feels like a family, but with more dictionaries.
Yeah.
And Lina, she was quick, she added, and more snacks, which, also helps.
That's what help.
It perfectly captures that unique blend, right? Genuine support, real fun, but also serious learning. So if you think about your own learning experiences, what stands out to you about how this club managed to create such a profoundly safe and engaging space? And how do you think embracing imperfections, maybe even celebrating them, actually supercharges a positive learning experience?
Well, it creates this feedback loop, doesn't it, where what feels like failure becomes a source of shared amusement and collective insight instead of personal shame. And that's foundational for real progress, especially in something like language, which really depends on you putting yourself out there. But even in this thriving, supportive bubble, a significant challenge was about to pop in.
Uh-oh is right. And what a challenge it was. The entire atmosphere, fun, and safety was about to be put to the ultimate test. One day, Mr. Thomas, their teacher, walks into the club meeting. And he drops a bombshell that seemed to just freeze the room. He announced, "Great news, the principal heard about your English club and wants you to perform at the school's language day program in front of everyone." You could practically feel the air leave the room. Sami's eyes widened like saucers. Lina's usual smile just vanished.
Yeah.
And then, that universal whisper of fear from one student, "We're gonna die."
Right, and this immediately brings up a critical point.
Yeah.
How does the sheer pressure of public performance radically impact learning and confidence? Even for people who are doing great in private, low-stakes environments, there's this huge psychological gap between comfortably practicing with a small, trusted group and suddenly being asked to perform in front of the whole school with a microphone.
Yeah, the microphone adds a whole other level.
Totally. This sudden high-stakes public expectation isn't just a school thing. You see it all the time in professional settings, too. It just introduces this entirely new, often paralyzing layer of anxiety.
So that intense pressure wasn't just abstract, right? It quickly translated into very concrete, pretty daunting demands, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Mr. Thomas wasn't just saying perform. He laid out the specifics. A short group skit, a speech, and a song. All in English. Suddenly, their cozy learning family was facing a truly public, high-stakes debut. Have you ever been in a situation like that, where your comfortable practice zone was just abruptly challenged by some big public expectation? How did it feel? The ripple effect of that announcement was immediate and profoundly disruptive. The next few club meetings weren't just chaotic, they kind of devolved into a frantic mess. Sami, who'd made such incredible progress, started forgetting his lines, just blanking. Lina, usually so composed, so confident, she struggled to teach the song. Half the students were singing in totally different keys.
Oh, I can picture that. Painful.
And then there was Hamza, the shyest boy in the group. His stage fright got so intense he literally hid behind a chair during practice.
Oh, poor kid.
It was like watching their hard-won confidence just visibly crumble. I remember facing something similar when trying to learn a new programming language for a public demo. It's amazing how performance anxiety can just shut down your brain.
It really can. And it truly was a near breaking point for the club. At one stage, Lina, just completely overwhelmed by the pressure, sighed and quietly admitted, maybe we should just cancel it.
Oh no.
But here's where the resilience of the group, and especially Sami's transformation, became the pivot point. Sami, the very student who once trembled just thinking about English, he looked right at Lina and delivered this powerful, concise intervention. No way.
Wow.
He said, you helped me face my fear. Now we help each other. And that moment, it just transcended individual panic. It shifted the group's dynamic from everyone struggling alone to this powerful display of collective support, resilience. They stopped focusing on the huge, overwhelming mountain ahead and instead committed to breaking it down one small step at a time.
What's so compelling there is how that peer support, especially when it's rooted in shared vulnerability, right? How it can truly transform a daunting challenge into a clear pathway for growth. It wasn't about one person being strong for everyone, but rather everyone drawing strength from each other's commitment and shared struggle. When you're facing setbacks or something that seems insurmountable, how do you find yourself drawing on the strength or experience of those around you? It's a powerful reminder that we rarely have to tackle our fears completely alone.
Precisely. And it created the fertile ground, really, for a truly pivotal moment that completely reframed their entire approach to learning and performing.
And what a moment it was. On the final practice day, something truly magical and honestly quite hilarious happened. Sami was standing up, giving his speech, doing his absolute best when he declared, "My name is Sami. Today I tell you about the importance of vocabularies."
Vocabulary.
Vocabularies. You could almost feel the collective intake of breath. Then something unexpected. Everyone, including Sami himself, just burst out laughing.
Yeah, it's great.
He paused, laughed along with them, and immediately corrected himself. Vocabulary? Not vocabulary. See? We're still learning.
That's fantastic. And that seemingly small slip, it wasn't just funny. It sparked Lina's brilliant insight. She stood up and proclaimed, "That's the spirit. Making mistakes is normal and funny." But they didn't just leave it there. They made a conscious, strategic decision. They intentionally incorporated that exact mistake into their skit.
No way.
Yes. So this wasn't merely about demonstrating correct English anymore. It was about showcasing the fun of learning through mistakes. This highlights such a profound and transformative principle. Errors aren't just roadblocks to be corrected. They're invaluable stepping stones, opportunities for shared humor, and can even become intentional, celebrated parts of the performance itself. It sort of desensitizes the learner to the sting of error, replacing it with growth and, well, even amusement.
That's such a powerful reframe, isn't it? It moves beyond just tolerating mistakes to actively leveraging them for understanding, for connection. It makes me wonder, how can you consciously shift your own perspective to view your errors not as personal failures, but as integral, maybe even humorous data points in your learning process? What might you gain by embracing the idea that imperfections can actually be a source of strength or even shared joy? And so the big day arrived, language day. The air was thick with this mix of nervous anticipation and exhilarating energy. The school auditorium was packed. Not just students and teachers, but parents, even some government guests.
Wow, big audience.
Big audience.
Yeah,
Backstage, the English club stood, just a bundle of raw nerves. Sami, ever the relatable one, whispered to Lina, "I think I'm going to faint."
Poor Sami.
But Lina, true to form, was quick with her witty reassurance. "If you faint, I'll catch you, but speak first, okay?"
Perfect. That quiet backstage exchange, it really captures their journey, doesn't it? That blend of vulnerability and unwavering support. So they walked onto the stage and their performance began. First, this hilarious skit set in a restaurant, a comedy of errors basically, where English words got hilariously mixed up. Imagine the scene. "Waiter, I want a fork." Met with the absurd response, "Sir, we don't serve frogs."
Yeah.
The audience just erupted in laughter. They instantly connected with that universal humor of language mishaps, right?
Totally.
Then Sami stepped forward for his speech. He paused, took this deep, steadying breath, and delivered a courageous, deeply authentic message. When I first joined school, he declared, I was scared of English. I thought if I made mistakes, people would laugh. But now I know learning a language is about trying, not being perfect.
Wow. That takes guts.
Huge guts. And that vulnerability, that honesty, it resonated so profoundly, not just with students, but with every adult in the room, drew huge applause.
And to cap it all off, they sang their English song, a melodic testament to their collective journey, their renewed spirit.
Step by step, word by word, we learn to fly just like a bird. Not afraid, we laugh and try. Together we rise, together we fly.
By the time they finished, the entire crowd was on its feet, cheering loudly. It wasn't just a performance, it felt like an emotional triumph, a public declaration of resilience, the power of shared effort. Thinking about this moment, what does it tell you about the true measure of success? Which often extends far beyond just perfection, right? It encompasses genuine effort, raw courage, the impact you have.
Absolutely. It tells us that true success is rarely found in the absence of mistakes, but rather in the courage to make them, to learn from them, and crucially, to do so within a supportive community. It's about that profound internal transformation, the authenticity they showed, not just the polished final product.
And the recognition they received perfectly reflected that whole ethos. After the program, the principal herself came backstage to speak to Lina and Sami. She didn't just praise their performance. She spoke to its impact. She said, that was wonderful. You didn't just perform, you inspired.
That's powerful.
And then she handed them a certificate, which just perfectly encapsulated their journey. To the English Club for making learning fun, fearless, and full of heart.
Oh, that's lovely. But maybe the most profound sign of their journey's lasting impact came from Hamza.
The boy who hid behind the chair.
That's the one. The shy boy who had literally hidden during practice. He quietly whispered to Lina afterwards, next time. Maybe you'll get the speech.
Get out. Really? Really? And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the real reward for the English Club wasn't some external trophy or public praise. It was that quiet internal transformation. It was Hamza's newfound belief in himself, that feeling he now carried. It's such a powerful reminder that inspiring others often begins with inspiring ourselves, right? Through our own growth, overcoming our own perceived limits.
It's truly amazing to see that ripple effect. So how might the unique lessons from the English Club, especially their approach to embracing mistakes, fostering shared vulnerability, how could those be applied to your own pursuits, whether it's learning, career, personal growth? What specific strategies could you maybe borrow to inspire yourself and maybe others in your journey? Well, ultimately, the core message here is just crystal clear, isn't it? Learning English, or really any new challenging skill, it isn't just about mastering the subject matter itself. It's a powerful catalyst for building profound confidence, for forging deep, meaningful friendships, and for cultivating that unwavering courage to stand tall, even, when your knees are shaking.
In the end, the English Club didn't win a trophy. They won something far more valuable, belief in themselves, and the ability to inspire that belief in others. So as we wrap up this deep dive, consider this provocative thought. What specific fear, maybe a perceived imperfection or a past misstep, is currently holding you back from taking that next bold step in your own learning or your professional life? And what might you genuinely gain by embracing this idea that mistakes can make magic and that collective support rooted in vulnerability can lead to really profound personal triumphs? We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.